Thank you for joining today's podcast. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for you. I can't tell you. So thank you. Please keep tuning in. Please leave reviews. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to the channel. But I am grateful. I'm grateful that you're here. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about leadership, leading, what it means to be a leader, who's a leader, who's not a leader, the cost of leadership, and things of that nature. I figured leadership would be a great topic because we are definitely living through some challenging times. And every time I get an opportunity to talk to you guys, I want to make sure I'm adding value. And I want to make sure that I'm focusing on what's most important right now. And right now, we have a lot of people pointing fingers at different leaders. And one thing my old Pastor Frank J. Hardy said is, if you are pointing your finger at somebody, you have three fingers pointing back at you. And I feel like that really is extremely relevant right now. The things that we can impact are the things that we want impacted or changed in our communities, in this world, are things that we have the power to change and influence. But for whatever reason, we are spending, I feel like we're spending a lot of time pointing our fingers at others and not seeing the three pointing back at us. So I want to start out with what the Bible says about leadership. In Proverbs 16:10, it says, "A good leader motivates, doesn't mislead, doesn't exploit. God cares about honesty in the workplace. Your business is his business. Good leaders abhor wrongdoing of all kinds. Sound leadership has a moral foundation. Good leaders cultivate honest speech. They love advisors who tell them the truth. An intemperate leader, angry leader, unpredictable leader, insecure leader wreaks havoc on lives. You're smart to stay clear of someone like that. Good temperate leaders invigorate lives. They're like spring rain and sunshine. Get wisdom. It's worth more than money. Choose insight over income every time." That's Proverbs 16:10, the Message version. And just in reading that, it challenges all of us to look inside of ourselves and say, are we being good leaders? Are we being good leaders? Are we doing what this is requiring of us? Do we hate wrong? Do we cultivate honesty? Like right now alone, when it comes to how we are leading or managing our social media, are we cultivating honesty? Am I making my platform a place where just my opinion can be heard? And anybody who disagrees is automatically labeled and cast away. So all I can hear is me and people that think like me. Or am I cultivating honest speech? Do I love advisors who tell the truth? Or do I cringe at having anybody challenge the way that I think? Am I insecure in my beliefs? Or am I secure? Am I able to listen and respectfully and tastefully disagree with others? Am I able to try to understand? Am I confident enough to be honest and not agree when I don't agree? But anytime I communicate, just communicate in love. I can't control how other people receive what I say, but I can control me. So when it comes to the scripture I just read, I want to ask you, how are you doing? How are we doing? Are we leading ourselves well? You don't have to be a business owner to be a leader. If you have influence, you're a leader. Leadership equals influence. And all of us have to lead ourselves. How are you leading yourself? Another thing that I recommend that we do if we want to be good stewards, good leaders, good managers of our own selves is do a self-assessment. There was a study at Cornell University where they had 72 millionaires, individuals who had businesses that range from $5 million a year to $50 million a year. And they assessed them, they did a survey, and the one common denominator that they found, the number one behavior that attributed to their success, according to this study by Cornell University, was self-awareness. So I recommend people take the Enneagram test. You can take any self-awareness test that you want or that you feel is beneficial. I think just doing a personal inventory and self-assessing is worth it. So use whatever you like, whatever you have. I love the Enneagram. And it's been very helpful to me. So I highly recommend it to you. Also, if you're in a relationship of any kind, I highly recommend, for self-assessment purposes, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. That book it's helped me realize that, when I'm loving my wife, or I'm loving my children in my language and not theirs. It's also challenged me to get to know the people around me, so I know what language they love in, what their expectations are. There's a book that he also wrote called The 5 Appreciation Languages for the Workplace. I think both books are relevant for whatever your situation, but check them out, and hopefully those resources will help you better manage you and better lead you. The next point I want to talk about is understanding your why. Understanding why you're required to lead or to be a good steward over yourself in the first place. Our human experience is not about us. It's about other people. This life is really about the relationships that you create and what you do with those relationships. And since that is the case, we should be looking to lead with love by serving one another. And if you do that, you're going to create a healthy environment no matter where you go or what you do. For me, there's only one leadership style, and that's servant leadership. There is no other style, effective style. There are other styles, but that's my goal. My goal is to outserve as a leader. And if that's your goal or your focus as a leader, then you're going to win. As a father, my goal should be to outserve my wife and children. As a member of this society and the community, my job should be to outserve my neighbors. In business, my job should be to try and outserve my employees or outserve my team. Or when I was an employee and not leading anything at work, it was still my job to try to outserve all the people around me. And if you do that, that's leadership. And if we do that, then we're automatically making this world a better place. Part of doing that, though, is learning and growing and understanding what needs are, what expectations are. So this thing is not as simple as it may seem. It's a lot of layers to it. And that's why I think we're so stuck in the weeds right now. And the next point is going to speak more to this, because the next point I have to make is communication, starting with listening. How well do you hear? How well do you listen, communicate, discover, and understand? So when it comes to serving others, truly serving others, you can't do it if you don't listen. There's a great book out there called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect by John C. Maxwell. I recommend you read it. The book did wonders for me. Here are a few tips to help you listen better. One is often a racing mind is to blame for not properly hearing someone when they speak. It's important to stay in the moment when listening to others. Don't prepare your reply while the other person is still speaking. We're so busy mentally planning a rebuttal that we miss the other person's true message. Don't allow the speaker to be interrupted. Do not excessively cut people off when they're speaking. Commit to the discipline of staying in the moment as others speak. Resist the temptation to let your mind drift during conversations. Focus on the other person's meaning and motivation. Sense how the other person thinks and use that to stay engaged. Listen for clues that reveal the speaker's hot button issues, such as repetition or emphasis. Then ask open-ended questions in those areas, like, could you tell me more about that? This demonstrates attentiveness and interest. Also, when you add open-ended questions, it leads to discovery, self-discovery for that person and also for you. When you listen more than you talk, people will say, what a great conversationalist. Even though all you've done is listen, it's appreciated. Listening is an art. It should be nurtured and practiced just like we would a speech. We spend so much time practicing what to say and how to say it. Why don't we practice how to listen? Why don't we practice things like looking at people in the eye when they speak, not allowing ourselves to chatter inside our heads while they're talking, not allowing ourselves to be distracted while someone else is talking? Good listeners rarely add their own story to what's being said because it would take their focus away from the speaker. And that's something I'm guilty of myself. While somebody's talking, as soon as they say something, I have something to say or something to add that's going to take away from their point. That's not good listening. That's not showing you care. When you listen, if you have the ability, if you're at work and you can take notes, if you're in class, take notes. Nod to encourage the person to keep talking and ask good, open-ended questions and probing questions and follow-up questions. The worst thing is when you're talking to somebody and they make a statement and you ask a question and they answer it, but then you don't follow up. You don't ask any more questions about that topic. It shows that you're actually listening if you have more questions from their answers. Keep a positive expression on your face while making eye contact. Be conscious of the energy you're giving off. You don't want to look at somebody to encourage them to be quiet. You want to look at someone to encourage them to speak. You want to be in the moment and really appreciate the conversation. That's how you show you care. Ask very intriguing questions, not generic. And like I said before, make sure you're asking follow-up questions to show that you heard what was said. Paraphrasing is great. Repeat some things to ensure clarity. People know you're listening when you paraphrase. Those are some things that we should be doing to show that we're listening. Taking notes, making mental notes, but really taking in what people say so that when you do serve them, that you are actually doing and actually addressing something of value to them, which means you're actually doing something of value by addressing their actual needs, not what you perceive them to be. If you don't listen, you can't understand. If you don't listen, you can't build trust. And trust is the foundation of every healthy relationship. When it comes to an organization, when it comes to being a part of a team, when it comes to being a family, you want to build trust so everybody can speak and be heard. We're all not going to agree, but that's okay because of the trust that's built. We're not going to lose our relationships. There's a book that breaks this down perfectly. It's called The Advantage by Patrick Leoncini. And it talks about health and the health of an organization being the key advantage. So get the book, check it out. But it breaks down how important trust is in business. And what I'm talking about right now is how important trust is in business, but in life as a whole. The individuals around you, how well do you trust one another? Do you trust one another well enough to have real conversations, to have real talk, and to really listen and understand? Are you guys mature enough and do you care about one another enough to talk even when you don't agree or when you're offended? Can you love through the offense and listen and based on that conversation, make some real commitments and then hold each other accountable and then get some real results that can help grow your relationship? That's what healthy looks like when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to managing ourselves. But the issue is when you do the opposite of that, when you're focused on results, when you're focused on, hey, if that person doesn't agree with me, it's a wrap. Or if that person doesn't do what I want them to do, it's a wrap. If it's a results driven and a results based organization or relationship, friendship, marriage, then it will fail. It'll be unhealthy and it will fail. So the focus is how to build trust that leads to real talk, that leads to real commitments, that leads to some real accountability that can get some real positive results on the business level and on the personal level. All right, so the last thing I want to cover is your habit. One habit that is vital to you managing yourself, being a good steward, you adding value, you leading, is cut the toxic people out of your life. Successful people remove the toxic people from their lives. Separate your family from your relatives. I tell people, you can't choose your relatives, but you can choose your family. Have people around you that add value to you. Someone once said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. All they're saying is make sure that you're challenging yourself by who you surround yourself with. Now, another thing that you could do if you want to be a successful leader is every day avoid death. I know that sounds crazy, but that's a real statement, because if you look at how even we're reacting during this pandemic. You had people going out, grabbing junk food off the shelves and alcohol and sitting home and hunkering down. And they were putting things that were poisoning their body into their body. You have people who are overdosing on social media and mentally feeding themselves a bunch of junk food and killing themselves. So every day avoid death is real advice. Put things in your body that are good for you. Put things in your mind and your spirit that are good for you. Sleep well, eat well. Vitamins should have been flying off the shelf, not chips, not Cheetos, not ice cream. Those are all great tasting, but they're weakening your immune system. We're out here waiting for a vaccine for this pandemic. We have an immune system that's absolutely amazing that God made. And if we just feed that what it needs to fight off disease, if we exercise, if we feed our mind positive things, if we eat vegetables, you're putting things in your body that will every day help you avoid death. Also, another thing that I highly recommend you do in every situation, give thanks. Be grateful. Be thankful. Do all things without complaining or arguing. Look at things through positive lenses. Another thing that I highly recommend that you do is plant seeds, positive seeds. When I say plant positive seeds, that means random acts of kindness, writing if you're a writer, if you're a singer, write songs, mentor people if you are someone that has a passion for young people or people in general. Take a course in an area of your expertise, something that you've already kind of been good at. Become better at it. Read more books. Stop making excuses and blaming other people for everything else. Everything else. It's like crazy right now. Like we're blaming all the leaders in the government and all the leaders in our communities, and we're doing all this blaming when we should be focused on us. And what does this situation require of me? Be a part of the solution and not the problem. I feel like we can all get better. One of my favorite quotes is, everyone wins when a leader gets better. And it's true, because leaders impact so much. Bad leaders do so much damage, so much collateral damage, but good leaders do so much good. And the good that we do has ripple effects. It has ripple effects. It affects more people than you realize, more people than you know. So, all right, everybody, you have a great day. Have a great evening. If you can't have one, create one. Until next time, take care.